All the things with Lane and Lani, husband and wife, parents, living in the Midwest. Every show is different, and almost no topic is off limits. Please help us out. Subscribe to the podcast. Download the show, not just listen. Rate us. That 5-star rating would be amazing. Give us a review and tell a friend. Help us spread the word. All the things. Here's Lane and Lani.
Oh, okay. Now we're here with Lane and Lani. All the things with Lane and Lani. I got to say it
Almost.
different every time.
Yes.
Our next guest is a prominent small business owner in the local area, ever an advocate for health and healthy living. Her business, Serenity Health Spa, has been around for 12 years and has just in the last 2 years upgraded its services extensively. Serenity Spa offers, and tell me if there's more than this than what I'm saying.
Okay.
Offers massage therapy, manicure and pedicure services, skincare services, waxing, acupuncture, yoga, reflexology, and infrared sauna services. Did I miss any?
You didn't miss any, but just to clarify, we have 2 facilities, and we're very proud that we don't mix nails and that salon atmosphere with our wellness center.
Okay.
So the Serenity Health and Wellness Center is in Maumee, and on the same street, 2 doors down, we have Serenity Nail Salon and Spa.
Got it. Okay. All right.
But you're doing great.
Oh,
You covered most of the services, though. It's just in 2 locations.
got it. So we're interested in hearing more about her business, but also her most recent public speaking events, where she is known as Dr. D and speaks on stress, life balances, and relationships. Please welcome to the podcast, Deitra Hickey.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. And what a
Nice
cool,
to meet you.
fun name you guys have. That's a great name for a podcast. I like it.
We did it so it would encompass everything. I mean, so we could talk about everything, so it wouldn't be like,
Yeah.
up until this early part of this year, we decided to cover everything.
I like it. I like
Yeah,
it.
it's fun.
Yeah, your moms kind of had a deal before you were born.
They did,
Named
yes.
them
Yeah.
similar. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just the stars aligned, or the as I like to put it, the ugly people parted at the bar, and the seas parted of ugly people, and she was just right there. So
She is quite angelic.
And then, I made you pull out your ID because I didn't believe that you were actually Lane.
That's funny.
I'm legally Lane, you are legally not. So,
That's true. That's true.
so amazing to me, the fitness industry, either if you're in it and you do a lot of hobnobbing and or socializing in it, everybody in the area. But even when I was prevalent in it, when I was big into fitness and all that stuff and health and wellness, I didn't know maybe even a third or a quarter or even an eighth of the population of trainers or massage therapists and things like that. How have you handled that?
It's an interesting question because it's finding that fine line with, I try to stay in my lane, and I'm so focused on my own individual and unique ideas, and I pride myself in doing things that no one else does. I don't really care what other people are charging or doing. I do my own thing, and we created something, the first wellness center that the city ever had. And so I was so ultra focused in that. And years passed, though, and you also don't want to miss out on the opportunity to continue learning and growing in your field and really get to know so many wonderful experts in complementary fields.
Yeah.
So it's just finding that balance of staying focused and honing in on what you do and not having this competitive type personality. I want everyone to be successful. There's enough bodies to go around,
Exactly.
I always say. So it's been nice over the last decade or so, getting to know other professionals, cross-referring, and just continuing to learn as a wellness practitioner myself and continue to educate myself along the way. And I still have a lot to learn.
Oh, absolutely.
It's never ending, that's for sure.
No, the more that you know, you realize how much you actually have to learn.
Yes. I totally agree with that.
I was going to say it depends on which avenue you want to take it. If you want to go down massage therapies avenue, there's reflexology, there's acupuncture, there's so many different fascia things and stuff like that you can dip into. If you want to follow the fitness industry, there's so many different avenues you can follow with that. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very proud to surround myself with such educated practitioners. And, we have about 40 different offerings at Serenity. And I have come to realize that I'm not going to end up being a full expert on all of them. I don't offer them personally. I am business owner, and I have to have a very solid understanding of holistic health and the whole mind, body, and spirit of an individual. And then I'm able to say, you know what, I don't want to do you a disservice and talk about the depths of the service and the health benefits anymore. I'm going to put you in touch with my practitioner who is an expert in this field. And then I focus outside of Serenity on the mental health piece.
Okay.
So it's just kind of, I think I have found my balance in that realm.
That's
Okay.
nice. It's hard as a business owner. I mean, I am too, and you want to be the expert in every field, but it's just not feasible. It's not possible. And you're right. You're doing a disservice to your customers if you try to do that.
Yep. Or
So-
act like I do know it all.
Yes.
Back when you're younger, you think you have to just, I'm going to wing it and
Right.
see if I can get away with sounding really intelligent, like I know everything about everything. But the most intelligent people, they have within their business, especially something like mine, they of course have a solid understanding, but they are able to admit, I am not the expert in every single thing, but I know who to put you in touch with.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with our cross referrals.
Yeah. I think customers appreciate that too.
Absolutely.
Let's say there was a time about maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago. It was before. Maybe it was during, just towards the end of the pandemic, or at the end of the pandemic, maybe. I don't remember when it was, but I went in there into Serenity, and you weren't there, and usually you're always there, I thought. And I thought, oh gosh, she got out of the business. I thought she sold out. I thought she sold to somebody else and moved on. But it turns out you hired either a manager or you got yourself a partner.
Well, actually, I did hire operations managers, and that's, I think, the long-term goal of a lot of business owners is to work on your business instead of in your business. And if I'm constantly, in there, it's a luxury for me to be there because I get to hang out with my awesome staff and my fabulous clients, chat it up with them, give them hugs. But I get nothing done. So, you try to get to the point where you can hire operations managers and you hope that you've done a good job of setting the foundation of the business structure so that it runs seamlessly. And of course, you need to be there. I do one-to-ones with my staff periodically just to check in with them and how they're doing and if their needs are being met. And I really I try to be as active with my clients as I can, but I'm out there. I am not a practitioner within Serenity.
Okay.
So as business owner, the foundation of the logistics on how the business is run has already been laid out. So now it's my job to continue doing the networking and the marketing, doing the radio. I do the motivational speaking. I write books and all of those things that I now want to do and have a little bit more time to dedicate to. So again, it's finding balance because you also don't want to be viewed as someone very absent
Yes.
from a business that you're very passionate about. My passion is still there. I'm just trying to be able to make the most difference in the most efficient way.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
As I say, the place is running on its own. You don't need to be there 24/7. That's where Lani's at. She's trying to hire another person to help her out in some of the business dealings, that the logistics of it, picking up, dropping off, things like that. So she's not carry, every week.
So it's very scary to kind of relinquish that control to somebody else, or
You're right.
depend on somebody else to run it the way that you would. Was that scary for you in the beginning?
Absolutely. It was scary and almost, I was almost not capable of doing so because it just meant so much to me, and nothing against anyone else. And this is going to sound, maybe a little pompous on my end, but I'm like, nobody's ever going to do it like me. No one's ever going to care about my business like me. And two things happened. First, I was very selective in who does run the business and who works there. And so I raised my expectations a little bit, where maybe they're not going to be quite as passionate as me, but they're going to care. They're going to be wired that it matters to them, and they feel empowered as a leader there that it really is a true passion. And then the second part of that, what happened, is acceptance that it's probably not going to be run exactly how you would run it.
Right.
And that's okay. You're
Yeah.
still going to be successful. They might do things, my management team, they do things sometimes I wouldn't have thought of or better than me.
Right.
Yeah.
So they might not, have that eye. I always say, have my eyes, that plant's dead. Don't walk past it, whatever it might
Yes.
be. They might not have those eyes like I do all the time, but they definitely bring their own strengths. And so I had to come to terms with the fact that I need to let go of some of that control. Everything's going to be okay. And you also have to come to terms with your family, with your significant other, on your, I don't know how to really word this delicately, but your financial situation, it to me, it's not always more. I just want Serenity to continue getting better and better service. And that might mean less because I'm hiring more management and I'm, making sure that I'm replacing things and taking care of things. And we found our sweet spot where this is our lifestyle. It's not more. It's okay. And so even if we don't ever increase financially with Serenity, we're very content with that.
Okay.
So let's just hone in on making sure that what we're doing well,
Yes.
doing right, and honoring our staff and our clients every day.
I like that. That makes sense.
I can't believe that you'd be getting too many bad reviews on the services that you guys provide. I mean, it's all for well-being. It's all for feeling good and things like that. So I can't imagine it would be anybody giving you bad reviews on
No, I mean,
this type of business.
thank you for that. And I do, we're very, very fortunate, very blessed that we have wonderful reviews. We do miss the mark once in a while. Sometimes it might not be our fault. There's, I always say with massage, different strokes for different folks.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe one person someone loves, the other person didn't quite like their style. And then with full transparency, we do have some of the same hiring as far as, front desk staff and things like that. With the rest of the country, where we have some hiring challenges after the pandemic, and it is a very complex business.
Yes.
So sometimes scheduling errors will happen or things like that. Or and one thing I can promise my clients, we may miss the mark once in a while, but we will always make it right. And I think that's what every business owner needs to understand. You don't need to be perfect. You should strive for perfection, but you don't need to be perfect and you're not going to.
Yeah.
And just hear and validate the person or the customer client that you missed the mark with and make it right. And I think as long as you're not dehumanized and they understand that human beings make human error, then there's grace and forgiveness. And if you're doing things right, most of the time they're going to forgive you and keep coming back. So
Yeah.
we're very blessed with an amazing clientele.
Let's say, what about the? You have a question?
No, go ahead.
What about the pre-pressure? Do you put a lot of pressure on yourself to make sure all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted? And like you said, you walk by a plant and you're like, someone wasn't paying attention to that. You know, is there a lot of pressure that you put on yourself to make sure everything is pristine all the time, or is it just kind of like you said, you're just gonna kind of let your people figure things out for themselves and not be a dominant voice in the room every day?
I think it's a little bit of both. You're right. You cannot be an overbearing micromanager every day, or that's going to cause disruption with your culture in the establishment. But you can micromanage by being prepared. And so we have several checklists that we use and that were developed along the way. And so, yes, I definitely put a lot of pressure on myself because there's just some things that are so important that I am not okay with an oversight. Like if it's someone's birthday and we have a framed sign with happy birthday and their name on that, and if I see somebody there celebrating their birthday and their sign's not there, that's more than a dead plant to me.
Yeah.
That is, we could have made somebody feel really special with such a small gesture.
Yeah.
And we missed the mark on such an easy thing. So being that we've been in business for so long now, we have several checklists and master calendar items and reminders and protocols, and OneNotes for everybody that is consistently checked throughout the day so that I don't physically have to be there or be in contact with all of the staff saying, hey, don't forget this,
Yes.
make sure you do this.
Right.
It's all laid out for them to do with ease.
Say, did it take you a while to get to that level?
It did, and to be honest with you, every day. I mean, when I was killing time before I came here, I was talking with one of the operations managers, and I had an idea. I mean, that's just how my mind. I got an email. We're going to Chicago this weekend, and the hotel sent me an email and said, "Hey, would you like to upgrade your room?" And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't even remember really what kind of room I got. And, and then it said, you can do it for $20. And I said, sure. And I mean, this was an hour ago. And they said, congratulations, we upgraded your room. And I said, Zach, maybe we could do something with our reminder text, like,
Yeah.
hey, would you like to add 10 minutes to your massage? And, put that out there. And my point is, literally every day I eat, breathe, sleep this business.
Yes.
And I don't have children, so I'm able to do that. Disclaimer, people are like, hey, terrible mother out there. All of my children have 4 legs. So I really, that's just how my mind always works. It's
Yes.
not distracted. With children, nothing, I mean, obviously there's successful business owners that have it. It's almost a curse because I sleep and I wake up and it's just so constant.
I have children, and I still feel like I eat, breathe, and
Yeah.
live it. I mean, it's my 3rd baby.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's a better
So-
way to put it. It's
Yeah.
it's one of your children, and it's one of my children, and the
Yeah.
other ones have 4 legs. And normally I say lick their own testicles. I won't say that, but
Don't say
I
that.
guess I did. So to answer your question, yeah, it did take a long time, but it's constantly fluid and evolving and growing. And we implement, this protocol might make it easier for front desk. And
Yes.
our training, we just changed a couple months ago to make it not so overwhelming and information overload for our people. So you really need to put a lot of front end effort and thought into it, but know that that's not the golden book, that you
Right.
have to continue evolving it and changing and asking your people for their opinions, asking your both your customers and your staff, and then don't have pride. I tell my people when I hire them, this is an open door, and I'm not going to take offense. We constantly want you checking in with us. And if you see something you think we could do better, let us know. And I let them know that right when we hire them.
That's nice. So I don't think a lot of places do that.
Absolutely not. Everyone usually wants total control, and that's usually when, speaking from experience, that's usually when, from both of us actually, that's about the time someone starts thinking, I could do this better, but because the policy is, you shut the hell up.
Yep.
I'm the boss. You don't have a dime in this, so
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why those one-to-ones are really, really good, because there's also not only leadership capabilities within people, but there's introverts that have mad leadership ideas, and they're not going to step forward or raise their hand in a staff meeting. So having those private one-to-ones periodically and saying, your voice matters, your opinion is heard, and is there anything you'd like to share? Because, you are a leader just in how you perform your job, and you come on time, and you're a great example. And you would be surprised at how many pretty extreme introverts sometimes have come up with some of our best ideas and changes. But you have to ask for
I was
it.
gonna say,
You do,
you have to
yeah.
ask for it, and they have to have the ability to, okay, I'm going to throw it out there.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, you've got to have the open arms ready. You can't just say, today is the day I'm going to open up the
Yes.
floor.
Exactly.
Okay, and then you're going to mop my ass with it. I don't think so. I
Exactly.
think that's
Yes.
going to happen.
Well,
But,
that's what I had in my last job.
yeah, say,
Yeah, we want your ideas, and then as soon as you give an idea,
smack.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not good.
So,
Yeah, so everything you've got in place sounds like an awesome leadership ability. It doesn't sound like the person that's in the front clapping and, we can do this, blah, blah, blah. You're in the back saying, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. You're doing fine. And to me, that's a good leader.
Thank you.
You set the principles up in front, and they have them as their beacons to guide them. But you're in the back, just, if you need help, I'm back here. If you need help, I'm back here. But you're smart. I trust you. You can do it on your own.
Yes. Yes, it's definitely finding that balance of teaching, but yet letting them explore and let their personality shine and maybe do things a little differently so that they're the most comfortable. And when you let them do that, then they excel and they're going to be the best of them that they can be for you.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell me about this new role that you've taken on, this public speaking thing.
Is it new? I feel like you've been public speaking for a while.
No, it's not new, but and then COVID, it's new again because COVID kind of killed the career of a motivational speaker. Unless you wanted to speak to, 8 or less people.
Yeah.
So I did start motivational speaking about 10 years ago, and it started with just talking about serenity and wellness and things like that. But my passion and my foundation is stress maintenance, work-life balance. When I would get hired from women's groups or asked to speak to women's groups, it was the Superwoman syndrome.
Yes.
And, just talking about some of those things. But I normally get hired by different companies to come in and touch on stress. And it could be a leadership workshop. It could be their Christmas party. I mean, it was all over the place. And the clientele was all over the place because we all have stress.
Yes.
So I spoke to nurses and teachers and financial advisors and accountants and all different groups, realtors, and I would just customize the presentation slightly to that specific profession.
Okay.
On my bucket list was doing the Women's Empowerment Night Out that I did in 2018, and we sold out the Valentine Theater, which was pretty amazing, and
cool.
we had a couple hundred people on the wait list, so I actually did an identical show a few months later, and so was able to talk to 2,000, and there were some men in the audience, but it was, and I like to tie humor into my presentations and multimedia and music. There's usually live music, and so it's all kind of this combo. But
Chair is dropping. Sorry.
Oh,
all of a sudden just gave out on me.
That's okay. But so yeah, that's my foundation, and resilience, perspective. I came from a very troublesome background, and I had a lot of adversity that I grew up with, and I had a choice to make, and it was to either use my situation as a crutch or to actually use it to empower other people, to use your adversity to strengthen and maybe help other people. Not to sound cliche, but it really was the thought process. So I started doing the speaking on stress, and there's because some people want to hire me back. So I have communication as a topic and teamwork and different things, but that's my foundation. And then just recently, this past Thursday, I did it was Dr. D Live, and it was at the Maumee Theater. And that one was a volunteer charity event. 100% of proceeds went to help the efforts along the border of Ukraine. And so what Denny Schaefer and I do on Tuesday mornings, Life Coach Tuesdays with Dr. D, where people call in for advice, we did that live with the live audience, and they wrote in their questions during the concert we had ahead of time.
Oh, nice.
And that was very successful. It was fun. And, yeah, that was this past Thursday.
Awesome. So which format do you prefer? Do you prefer to stand on stage, stand on stage and kind of give your presentation and, this is how you should feel, this is how you should be, this is what I recommend, how to handle stress, etc.? Or do you like it when people say, here's an example, help me?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, they were people that have gone to all of my events, they were like, it is so different. Like they were both of them, I think I thought I was a comedian in a past life because I have to constantly joke around. I'm inappropriate and all of these things. So it doesn't matter. I mean, I usually run certain things. If I'm speaking at a church group, I'll run certain things fast. But so they were very similar in that way. But and the format, it was just so different. I mean, Thursday was the first time I had ever done anything like that as far as live improv counseling and advice. So, yeah, they were both really fun. I guess my preference would be what I have carefully crafted and designed over the last 10 years, where I think I'm going to be impactful and people tell me that I've changed the trajectory of their life with the whole show on maybe what they were going through or what they've been through. And I walk away feeling like I could have changed their path to happiness and peace and contentment. Whereas Thursday, sure, I probably gave decent advice on that one individual question.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun, and it was more of a show, with Denny and I. But I guess if I had to pick, I'm doing this for a reason, and
Right.
that's to be as impactful as possible.
Yeah, I could see how the live would be a little more limiting as to, how long you can talk on one question because you want to get other people's questions in and things like that.
Yeah. And they were diverse and eclectic and questions all
I
over the
bet.
place, which is fun. Yeah.
So I'd prefer the live event. I'm good at bantering and just kind of ad-libbing and going off the cuff.
It was
so.
definitely easier, I should
Yeah.
say. Even though I've done the other tons of times,
Yeah.
it was just more of having a conversation instead of really just making sure everything is timed with the music and the video and what I'm doing and what I'm presenting, and making sure that I'm tapping into that industry and being as powerful as possible. Where the other was, we're going to have fun up here and we're
Right.
raising money for a good cause, and
Right.
just kind of wing it. But it ended up going very well. So
Good.
That's interesting. Have you ever thought about doing your own podcast?
people tell me that all the time, but you know what? I am actually trying to work less instead of more. And so, I'm not near retirement age or anything. I'm 47, but I am at the, because people think I should open multiple Serenities and franchise and different things. And I have to practice what I preach. And to me, I do feel like I have achieved what I wanted to in life, and I just want to keep doing what I'm already doing very well and actually get a little better work-life balance and have some help and some delegation and things like that. So it is so tempting to do so many things. So many things sound intriguing, or partnering with people that want me to jump on board with that, or sitting on a board, speaking of board. But I am going in the other direction, actually trying to simplify my life more than add things to it. So no.
That's nice. I mean, it's hard, though, when you do enjoy what you do, to try to kind of cut yourself off from adding too much. Because like you said, more is not always better.
No.
So-
Yeah, it's, like everyone else, if there were more hours in the day, maybe,
Yes.
but I like my sleep, and I
Yeah.
like my fun, and I play a lot of volleyball still, and I have a wonderful 23-year marriage, and we still like each other. So, and my dogs. And so, it's one of those things where I do like my life, and they tell us to, and I tell people, you're supposed to live like you're dying, and would you work 10, 12 hours a
Right,
day if
right.
you knew, that maybe you didn't have as many years as you thought? And if that answer is no, you should live your life now like
Yeah.
that. So my husband actually was an engineer for 22 years. And about 7 years ago, we made the decision for him to transition from his job. And we just run Serenity together. He helps
Oh,
me
nice.
out
Oh.
with IT things and accounting and the business aspect. And when I speak, he does all the technical,
cool.
things. And so we just work together. And
Yeah.
again, back then, it's not all about money. I mean,
It said
Yeah.
less is more.
yeah.
It is, because I feel like the more money you make, the more you spend, the more bills you acquire, the more, and it's just not worth it sometimes.
Yeah. We were, he was, we're gone 10, 12 hours a day, and
Yeah.
we don't have children, and we're like, this is silly, not that children have too much to do with it, but I'm just saying, I think your living expenses can be a little less. What you're
Yes.
saving for is
Yeah.
a little less.
Sure.
And so so I am trying to find that balance to still do what I love, be a contributing member to society, volunteer, be passionate, do things like this, when I'm asked if, of course there's new listeners or new people that if you can even make a difference to one person, you are successful. So
As I say, what keeps the passion alive? I was in the health industry and fitness and things like that, and I just hit a point where I was burnt out.
yeah.
Mainly, it was dealing with the psychological effects of people. I was more than happy to kick their ass in the gym every day and have them say, "That was a great workout, man. That's exactly what I needed." Or, "I'm still sore from 2 days ago," and I'm saying, wanted to help you. Perfect. That's what I wanted to happen for you. But dealing with the mental aspect of people, plus the things that I had going on at home with 2 new kids, and all of it just added up and just burnt me out. So I was curious to know what keeps your passion alive and what keeps you in this industry in particular.
Right. Well, I think that people have sometimes too high of expectations when they start a job. So I don't think we're meant to be in any one career path for 40 years. I think that they call it work for a reason. And no matter what you're doing, burnout will eventually happen. Even if you have a complete handle on your work-life balance, just doing the same thing and being mundane for so long, and especially if you're dealing with the public or some, mental, emotional issues with people, it can really get to us. So for me, I was in education for 17 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I started as a teacher, and then I was a school counselor, and then I was a school principal, and I opened Serenity in 2010, and that was, after many years. So I was, and don't get me wrong, disclaimer, I think it's great if you love and are passionate about your job for 40 years.
Yeah.
It's just, a rarity.
Yes.
And so I was very passionate about making sure that I continued to educate myself and leave myself options, because I didn't want to be in an industry that I was burnt out in. So to answer your question, how am I still motivated and passionate? Number one, it's only been 12 years. And in that 12 years, that has even evolved a lot in my role and what I do, and it's ever changing. So that's my personality as well. And then eventually, it might change onto something else as I have more management and the operations are run a little bit more consistently. But I'm extremely lucky that I'm in a field that does tap into people's mental, physical, emotional health. And I mentioned, my adversity as a child, and I actually grew up with 2 paralyzed parents. My parents were shot in front of me when I was a child, and my father was instantly paralyzed. My mother was okay, but she was shot 3 times, but she had multiple sclerosis. And so she was also that expedited her symptoms, and it was progressive MS, and so they were both in a wheelchair. So my childhood consisted of being my mother's primary caregiver.
Oh, wow.
And so she was my age when she passed away, in her 40s. But I was her caregiver from 11 years old until 21 years old when she passed away. So that, when I'm saying I had a choice to make, I was very bitter. I was very angry. I questioned everything. I questioned my faith. I questioned just the world. I questioned people, because you experience drama and trauma during that time. So, the second part of the answer to that question is, what keeps me going is just knowing that maybe I'm making a difference to somebody who is that miserable young adult, or that person that just feels like there's no out and there's no outlet, and it's probably not going to get better, and they're just struggling with their resilience and their perspective. And that keeps me going, because I have events like this, and then people can see that trust me, I am not this perfect person. I always say that my best client is my mirror. I have a lot of issues to work through as well, just like, a lot of people, but I'm constantly working on myself. And in the meantime, it's easier to give it than necessarily to live it. But at minimum, I'm living a life where people can see you can move on from tragedy or extreme adversity. And you can't use that, you shouldn't use that as an excuse to just not follow your dreams or be a productive citizen in society. So that helps keep me going as well. So ever changing and evolving on what I'm choosing to do, as well as having just a really deep-rooted passion for what I do to help people in one capacity or another.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't do individual counseling anymore
was
the
for
next
that
question.
reason.
Yeah.
For the reason
Okay.
that you said, I am an empath, and I
Yes.
would do
Oh, God,
I
yeah.
would do a counseling session. I would do a few, and I'd go home, and I literally
You
was
ate
obsessed.
it. Yeah, you ate it all.
Oh my goodness, I would. This might sound weird to some people. I would almost have physical symptoms sometimes if
Oh,
somebody
sure.
was like physically debilitated and just distraught. I just felt so bad for them, and I couldn't sleep, and I'd ask my husband, how do people do this all day? And he's like, you have to figure out how to put up that professional boundary.
Yeah.
And I really never could. And that's why I started motivational speaking and growing that part of the business, was because I felt I could be impactful to people on stage, and I could help hundreds or thousands of people. And I knew they had problems. I knew they were hurting, because we all are in some way or some capacity. The dynamic of it just changes with the levels. But I wasn't listening to their individual
Yeah.
problems
Taking that all
and
in.
taking that in. I would just, talk, and it was on stress, and I could make a difference.
Right.
But I didn't leave that night, with those specific problems that I was carrying heavy on my heart and on my mind.
Yeah, that would be hard. I was definitely going to ask if you were an empath, because I figured you probably were, and I didn't know how you could balance that.
Yeah.
But I can see how being able to talk in front of a group is much easier in that aspect, but still impactful.
Yes, absolutely.
So you've become more the sun, whereas you're radiating out. You're not the vacuum where you're taking it all back in.
I like that. I've been definitely called worse than that. I like it.
Well, I've only known you this close for so long. So
right.
I want to know if you're holding back. You said you dealt more of like a comedic role in your presentations. Well, this is an adult podcast. You
Oh,
can,
it is. I wasn't sure.
Oh, yeah, for
okay.
sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah, you can say whatever the fuck you want. So.
Oh, well, in that case, how much time do we have? That's going to be fun. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely am the inappropriate one. And then sometimes people will say, oh, because I don't know, maybe they don't think it's, my dad wanted 3 boys and he got 3 girls. And we were just kind of raised, in
Yes.
that way, and just kind of raw humor. But, yeah, I think that every situation you can make light of, you can joke around about. I think that women are sometimes especially put in this box that you're supposed to be this prestigious, almost prude, person that
Yes.
isn't ever joking around, or inappropriate or something. So, yeah, it always just depends on the situation, depends on the question, but. We see what people watch on TV and the movies that they watch. So I think most people appreciate that kind of raw,
I think
inappropriate
so.
humor.
Absolutely.
Yes.
See, I feel like that bubble was burst a long time ago. I've not known too many women that I've dated or that I've hung around with or preferred to hang around with that were the more the prudish style. I mean,
Yeah.
Lani has a mouth like a sailor. Her mom is the same way.
Yeah.
I learned it from my mother.
And you grew up in a hair salon, so
Oh, yeah.
women
Yeah.
have straight talk in hair salons. Even
Oh,
the
yeah.
ones that walk in, they more or less just kick off those fancy shoes and then they put on their
Yes.
bar shoes and then boom, off they go.
Yeah. Yes.
A couple years ago, actually it was 2 years ago, I tried to give up the F-bomb for New Year's.
Oh.
And because I'm like, it's cool, that I say it all the time, like whatever, it's fine. And actually there's some research out there that say really intelligent people
That's what I
use
hear.
it. Yeah. I'm going to stick with that. But I would be somewhere once in a while and I was just like, oh man, I sound like that. Like, maybe I need to like cut it back a little bit. And so I gave it up for New Year's and I'm like, I need to have accountability. One thing, I don't mind donating money or spending money, but I hate wasting money. I grew up poor. I don't like to waste money. So it was going to be that I was going to burn $1 every time I said the F-bomb.
Oh, wow.
And I was tracking it. And then I'm saying it on the radio. I was kind of just saying this story. And my husband's texting me. He's like, it's illegal to burn
Yeah,
money.
right.
Like, you can't. I didn't think you were really going to say it. So then I had to think of some other, outlets that I could do with the money because I didn't know it was illegal. But at the end of the year, I added it up and I'm like, it really helped with my intention. I really, cut down on it a lot, but fuck it. I'm keeping the money. Yeah.
That was my next question. What did you really do with that? And
Yes.
How much was it? What was the total?
It was like 40 the first week, and then it was gradual, and it ended up being, it was like 500 and some dollars or something. But that was very intentional to not say it. So
Okay.
I don't feel like that number's very high at all.
No, really.
no, but that was me not saying it.
Yeah.
So imagine the other. It would have
Yes.
been like 10 times that.
Yeah.
Well, your concept, back to your spa and your health and wellness center. I had a dream when college. I said, you're either going to be a personal trainer or you're going to open and run your own business. And mine was Bidlack Mind and Body. And it was going to be in a strip center. It was going to be personal training. It was going to be massage therapy, and it was going to be psychological services. So when would you think about even adding that component? I feel like you've got all the other components because you have yoga.
Yep.
And that, to me, is the mind-body connection, as is, personal fitness, training, and things like that. But are you the only component of the psychological aspect?
No. I actually hired a terrific woman. Her name is Teresa Aback, and she's a clinical counselor. And she does counseling through Serenity and also on her own. And then we do referring. So we really want people to go to the person that it would be the best for them. So someone that specializes in addiction or your children or whatnot. And then even with the other like fitness and things like that, it's pretty much more of a referral base now versus wanting to expand anything within our walls.
Okay.
Okay. As I say, so is that counselor you have on staff, does she just take appointments like someone that just needs help, or do they come in and say, okay, let's assess you and then we'll shoot you off into this direction?
No, she takes insurance, and she is the goal of any therapist or counselor should be that client doesn't need you at some point.
Sure.
But unless it's outside of her scope of practice, she has some clients she's seen for years. But, it really just does need to be a fit.
Yeah, for sure. Therapy and counseling is something I've always wanted to do, and I've never pulled the trigger on it. And I don't know why. I don't know what's blocking me from doing it. But I feel like it would be so hard to just sit and tell a stranger all of my issues and things like that.
Well, I think that a nice compromise or a transitional between not doing it at all and being like a clinical counselor is getting your life coaching certification. And so that's a lot quicker and easier. And I'm not discrediting life coaches out there. It just is more... it's a little lighter. It's actually coaching people with their goals and their dreams and their discontentment. And you're really letting the client come up with their path, and you're their cheerleader and helping them structure that path and things like that. So it's very different than clinical counseling, and you're not discussing medications and suicidal tendencies and some things that are very heavy that really should be left to specialists anyway, in my opinion. So, maybe that's an option for you, is to...
Oh, I meant like I personally wanted to see a therapist.
To go to one.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But I have this block about and I don't know why.
Well, there's a stigma. There's always been a stigma. So you can tell I'm getting a vibe that I think you'd be a good life coach, though. I think you're doing exactly what life coaches do, but I think there's always been a stigma with counseling, or sometimes there's a fear of not wanting to know the unknown, like whether it's a diagnosis, whether it's, something. I remember when a counselor, after my mom died, I went to a counselor, and she was insinuating some of the things on my temper or things that I needed to work on was how my father raised us. And I was very defensive, and I didn't want to hear that. And I'm like, my dad was paralyzed, and he was still this and tried hard, and he never collected disability, all these things. And I didn't want to hear that. So I think that there is a fine line between really wanting to lay it all out there and get the truth to better yourself, or thinking that might scar you a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, on stage on Thursday, I said to the audience, I said, now you're going to ask questions, and I am not here to tell people what they want to hear.
Yeah.
I said, are we, Denny? And they said, we're here to tell the truth and really try to help people. I said, so don't get all Will Smith on me and come up here, because unlike Chris Rock, I will hit back. Yeah. So, but I do think that that's a scary component of it. Mm-hmm. So even though it was, not the direction of your question, a life coach maybe is that in-between kind of balance.
Yeah.
And that might make you feel comfortable and guide you in a direction that, but we all, I have people that have come that wanted, to rent space, or a counselor, or they're in school and they have an internship. And she's like, I needed to have 4 practice people or whatever. I'm like, I'll be your person. I'll be your person. I'm always, and I really am. I am still, even with me, and I've written 3 books on it, and I've been doing this for a long time. I can still use some help. And I feel like I sometimes have abnormal coping mechanisms with my childhood and the loss of my mom. And, Mother's Day is around the corner, and I'm trying to figure out how to navigate those feelings. And my sister and I do a Mom's Day. It's actually this Thursday on our death day of our mother, because we had such a hard time on that day, and we made the decision that we were going to make this huge list of all my mom's favorite things and celebrate her and eat her favorite foods and watch her favorite movies and drink her vodka, grapefruit vodka, gross, but it's we celebrate her on that day, and so there's lots of things that you can do, or just get suggestions.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we're crazy, or it doesn't mean, but society often, it's getting much better, but has led us in that direction of that stigma to put us in that kind of cray-cray box.
Right.
Yes.
It just depends on the time of the month for me. You can you can identify me that as sometimes.
Oh, for sure.
So I think for you it's more of those, one of those doors that you don't want to unlock, because you don't know what's on the other side of it.
Yeah.
I think it's you kind of tiptoeing past that door, like, I'm not doing that today.
Mm-hmm.
And then you move on and you live your life. And you've been doing that for so long. And a lot of us actually have done that. I had a couple dark spots here in the last 4 years or whatever. But for you, I feel like it's one of those doors that there's only like 3 or 4 doors there, and you just tiptoe right past that one every time. It's like, that's the fucker you got to kick in and just say, let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's
Bring
see
it.
what it is.
But you do have to be ready.
Sure.
But you're exactly right. It happens physically with people too. I don't want to get this test. I don't want to check my sugar. I don't want to, because I don't,
want to know.
I don't want to know. That's scary to know. I'm happy right now, or I'm content, and or it might be, I don't want to, what if they tell me this? Like,
ignorance is bliss.
Yes. I just a few weeks ago, I got my blood work, and I'm like, oh, great. Are they going to tell me not to drink anymore? My liver levels are going to be elevated. Like, shut up, liver, you're fine. And, and it was, I still did it, of course, but I remember thinking, oh, I should have waited till after my vacation and this to get this information. And it really, all joking aside, it really is the same with mental unblocking and emotional, is we want to put it off for a very obvious reason sometimes, because it's no fun to deal with.
Yeah.
It's no fun to make adjustments or changes, or, somebody tell you that you should be doing this when you're not. And so it's a scary thing. But I do think that there's also a peace that we get once we know, and that's not always just when we know. Like, my liver ended up being just fine, so I tied it on that night. But my liver ended up being just fine. But even when it's not just fine news, there's still just this kind of peace and contentment with knowing, getting a plan in action, and really navigating the steps that you need to do for your own self, and to help make things better, or make sense, or advocate for your life. But it needs to be on your timing. And so I would suggest to people in your situation, and there's a lot of people in this situation, I wouldn't say, well, make a decision. Just either find out or kick that door down, or don't. It would be, have a timeline for yourself and say, I'm going to do this and then this, and by this date, I'm going to unlock that door, or I'm going to see what's going on, or I'm going to talk to somebody, even if it's just once. And when you write something down and you have a goal, you're more likely to do it. I mean, and it could just be your me time.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you wait and say, oh, once the kids are taken care of, everything's done, my to-do list is all done, then I'll kind of do this me time for myself.
It won't happen.
No, but if you schedule it and everything is scheduled around it, it might not always happen, but you're much more likely to happen. And it's the same thing with tackling and navigating and learning about your mental, emotional, and physical health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got
I'm a firm believer in the scheduling because I've just started that recently. I mean, every day I've got scheduled out, you know, blocks of time here and there so I know what I'm doing, and I'm easily distracted, and I'm a massive procrastinator. So, you know, there's one big task per day that I try to accomplish.
That's
And
wonderful.
if I get that done, then, you know, I at least feel productive and, you know, feel like I got it done. But I used to try to fit 10 things on my list, and then if I didn't, I felt like a failure.
Yep. And,
So-
and we're adding to our to-do list, it seems, quicker than we're taking things
Yeah.
away.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't, I mean, sometimes we actually go back to our to-do list and we add something to it because we did it, but we didn't check it. And we want to give ourselves that mental credit.
That would be me.
Yeah,
That would
yeah.
be me.
But I did learn with list making too. I used to be like, okay, I'm going to tackle all the easy things because then I'm going to give myself the sense of accomplishment that I
Right.
checked for. But in actuality, what we should be doing is look at this list for your day. And when you go to sleep at night, what on there is going to make you have anxiety or maybe not sleep as well that you didn't get that done? So tackling the most important time sensitive things instead of the most things is what I had to learn to do.
Yes, that's made a big difference.
Good.
Because I was definitely, I'll put that off, I'll put that off. I got these 5 other things done, so I'm doing good.
Yeah.
But then, yes, I'd go to bed like, oh my God, I didn't get that done.
I
What
didn't
am I
do
gonna
this. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I say the anxiety is the unknown. Like, well, I don't know how long that's going to take me, so I'll put that off. I'll get all these other things done. I can say yay for myself at the end of the day.
Yep.
But, you know, the growth is in the hard shit. So
Yep.
if you can,
Yep. Break it down. Break the hard shit down into different components. And that way you can celebrate components instead of just all or I did nothing.
right.
If you can.
sure.
If
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get frozen in that. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to tackle this stuff. I got a list of 6 things. It's just 6 things. I've dwindled it down to just 6. Good job, me. Pat on the back. Then you get to that 6 things, and then you start breaking those 6 things down. It's like, oh, well, let's jump to number 2 then.
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
number 2, you break it down. You're like, oh, okay, let's just move on to 3 then. And then you might get 3 done, and then you move on to the next thing. Or no, you got the other 2.
Yep.
Then you're at the end of the night and you can't sleep.
Yes, exactly.
It's a vicious bitch of a
It
circle.
is. It is. But it's just tackling those. You learn from it. And you're like, okay, next time. I know how this made me feel. I do the same thing when I don't feel overly prepared for a presentation or a motivational speaking, or it's a different. I'm like, okay, you're about to walk on stage and you could have prepped a little bit more. Like, why were you planning on where you were going to stay on your 6 months from now vacation
right.
when
Yeah.
you could have been doing? So I think we all, in full transparency, are procrastinators. I think that we all have trouble prioritizing sometimes. I think that we all are tired.
Yeah.
And we just, it's just the nature of the beast. But, you know, we need to not focus on that and really look in the mirror. And I challenge people sometimes. I'm like, when is the last time you looked in the mirror and you actually congratulated yourself
Yeah.
for everything you're doing, for who you are? You too, but I look at women especially,
Yeah.
you know, and just said, you're doing it. You are a superwoman. You're juggling a family. You're juggling a career. You're doing this. You're a great wife. You're still taking care of yourself. And you're doing it all each and every day, and you're rocking it. It might not be perfect, but you're rocking it.
Yeah.
Or are we too busy, you know, worrying about what we didn't do? We should have been
Yes.
this. We
Right.
should have been a better mother. We should have been a more attentive father. Are we not good enough, you know, a spouse? And all of these things, we've just kind of been ingrained to look at that. Yeah.
Focus on the bad thing.
Yeah.
Focus on the thing you didn't do because you didn't do it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not going to give you this score and old school evaluations because then they might think there's no room to improve. We've been ingrained with that
Yeah.
mentality. It's you can do more and you can be better. And although we can, why aren't we ingrained with, but you're also amazing and you're doing great
Right
things
now.
right now and juggling so many things. But we don't pat ourselves on the back every night. We usually go to bed with what we haven't done and who we aren't and what we want that we don't have and all of those other things. So that's part of what I do on stage is I'm trying to flip that thinking. And again, guilty, Captain Hypocrite. I do the same thing, but I know that it's really important.
Have you read the book High Five Habit from Mel Robbins?
I have not.
It reminds me of that. It's about how the impact of giving a high five. It's better than words of affirmation. It's better than you can't not smile when you give somebody a high five because it just gives you that good feeling. And she talks about giving yourself a high five every day in the mirror.
I like
just seeing yourself for what you are, and
that's cool.
She's just one of my favorites. I've read a lot of her books.
To me.
Yeah,
that's really cool. I like that. Yeah, can you imagine trying to give somebody a high five and not smiling? It's like riding a jet ski and not smiling.
Right.
That would be just really weird.
Yeah.
Really
straight face.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. It's definitely a good message to preach. Mm-hmm.
So you said you've written several books. Are they available?
They
on
are.
Amazon, or where are they?
Yep. They are available on Amazon. They are available at Serenity's retail store. So the first one is called Fearless, Strength, Faith, and Positivity in the Eyes of Adversity. And that one features dear friend of mine, Becky Carr, who was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And she just had the most amazing attitude and perspective and faith, and she's just the most wonderful person you'll ever meet. She actually reminds me of my mother, and she lost her battle a year ago, but she made it 5 years, which was like unheard of with not getting the surgery and having that diagnosis. So it's kind of an interview with her throughout the book, and it's all about perspective in that realm. And then another book is called Stress and the Power of Perspective. And I think that the title really just describes it. And it's all about kind of what we're talking about today and strategies and tips. They're all 3 self-help books, obviously, on how to handle not only the day-to-day stress to help you with those large stressors that might come into your life. And by having a handle on the day-to-day stressors and the little things, it prepares you more for true life adversity that comes your way. And then we all have a story. Yeah, we all have a story, and it's all about building and strengthening connections and relationships with yourself and with others. And so it kind of talks about that blind empathy that I was talking about when I'm up on stage, that everybody has a problem or has had a problem. And if we understood people's issues and problems, just how much, if we were a sign, how much better we would treat one another. And I talk about that a little bit. If we walked around with a sign and we outlined what we're dealing with right now, or the biggest issue we've ever dealt with, how much better society would treat one another, and how less judgmental we'd be, and how much more compassionate we would be. And so that book is just all about just kind of understanding people different than you and gender differences and just that unknown and what to do in different circumstances.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And that book I wrote actually with a good friend, Tom Hudak.
Okay. We'll have to put the links in our notes.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Looking forward, what do you have planned for the future? What do you hope to grow Serenity into, or you're speaking into, or what's the outlook?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. I actually,
We care. We really
thank
do
you.
care.
As far as the speaking, I am really excited to get back into it. I didn't realize how much I would miss it during COVID.
Yeah.
And I did present via Zoom on a few canceled leadership conferences and things like that. But again, when I joke with the audience and I'm like, I'm pretty sure they're laughing right now, but I can't hear them. Are you guys laughing? So the dynamic and the energy and the vibe just is different. And so I really didn't accept a lot of those. So I'm really just excited to get back into the motivational speaking and I've traveled as far as Austria and Germany and this country and all over Toledo. So I'm really excited to get back to that and tackle going to people's events and sharing what I have to say. So hopefully, I've never really done much with marketing myself in that realm. I've been very fortunate. Somebody from the audience is either having something come up or they know something.
Yeah.
Or then, somebody will Google stress, and I do come up on stress speakers. Maybe I come up because they just know I'm a stressed out person, and it's like, feature on stress. I don't know.
Ding.
But yeah, so I haven't been or needed to be overly intentional about it. So I hope that, and my momentum was really good before COVID. So I'm just hoping to get that momentum back, and I'll continue with the radio on Tuesday mornings. As far as Serenity, we are very, very fortunate that we are full, and we are usually on a wait list. So I discuss ways to expand and grow without having more facilities. And so coming up with things like add-ons and doing corporate accounts. So that's something that I'm passionate about, that I'm hoping we can expound upon, where we take our massage therapist and they do chair massage at different companies as just kind of a, appreciation, staff appreciation, things like that. Christmas parties, we've been there. We've even done mini manis and petties and chair massage, or on I'll Speak, or one of the facets. We've done offsite yoga. So those are ways that we can expand without having multiple locations. And then just tackling things like we're workers' comp certified. So just the different external facets. I mean, of course, we always welcome new customers and clients, and we're very appreciative. We just don't. You have to watch that capacity issue, because there is a fine line with people getting frustrated that they can't get in.
Yes.
Longtime clients, or I bought so-and-so on gift card and she's been trying to get in. So we don't market a lot at this point for that reason. But we lose clients all the time. So you do need to continuously market to a certain extent. People move, people change their mind, their financial situation changes. So we do have a constant, probably at least 5 new people on the schedule every single day. So we are loving, I'm not trying to insinuate we're not loving our new clients, but to expand Serenity, it really, the focus is going to be those corporate accounts and things like that.
I think that's a great idea.
Let's say for everyone who doesn't know you, where can they find you?
We are, if you go to one website, which is serenitymaumee.com, there's a landing page, and you can explore the nail salon by clicking the nail salon and going to that website, and then the wellness center as well. They both do have their individual websites as well, but that's the easy one to remember, serenitymaumee.com. And then as far as my speaking site and my presentation, or if you're looking for an MC for an event or something like that, it's DeitraHickey.com.
Okay.
Very good.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for making it here today. We really
Oh,
appreciate it. We
Very appreciative.
knew you were a buzz back in the news, and I'd always wanted to talk to you further on just fitness topics and things like that. So I'm glad we were able to get you on.
It was a great conversation.
I love being here. Thank you. Thank you. I'm very honored.
Well, we want to thank everybody for your time this time, and until next time.
Thanks, everybody.